HAWKE'S, Tawk, and Squawk. Man, I've been waiting to do this one. Just getting around to doing it. The 2001 Teachers of God's Word District Convention. Now, this right here stands out to me as one of the most memorable district conventions of my J-Dub era. It was the following year, I think that one was called Doers of God's Word, I believe. You know what I mean? But that was the following year, 2002, which was the last year that the district convention was at Vet Stadium. And that was the year I got baptized. You know, which I've had to know. You know, you've already heard that story. But the one in 2001 was memorable. I remember, I don't know, I think it was just how the whole weekend had transpired. Because really, to me, the weekend really began that Wednesday night. That Wednesday night, it was right after Memorial. It was right after Memorial Day. You know what I mean? And we had went back to school that Tuesday. By this time, grades is already in. Like, I'm graduating within the next couple of weeks anyway. You know what I mean? My grades have been in since December. You know what I mean? The 12th grade was so fun because I was going to school every day just to hang out. You know what I mean? When I went to Brook, going to school was cool. You know what I mean? Even if you went to school and roamed the hallways all day. You know what I mean? And when you was a senior and all your grades was in, you could do whatever you wanted to do. You know what I mean? You could roam the halls, you could hang outside. Especially if you was cool with all of the NTAs. And I remember 12th grade, they had brought in all these new NTAs. And they started off drawing, but me and my crew, we was able to manipulate them and kind of get them to tone down some. Because all the old crew that we messed with, they had shipped them all out and brought all these new cats in. But this isn't the Panther Hawk edition. This is the 2001 Teachers of God's Word District Convention. This is that one. Well, yeah, I remember it kind of started on that Wednesday because the homie Nat Raj and my cousin Sheaf and the homie Lucius, they had all came over and stayed that weekend because that Thursday we all went down to the vet. You know, you always had the day before the convention, the friends would come down and really clean the vet and prepare and set up and all that. So we were supposed to do that. But I remember that Wednesday night, I went to Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals, my Sixers and the Bucks. And man, that came down to a last second. And I remember after that, going back to the crib, me and the homies going down to St. Joe's to hoop with some of the neighborhood homies. Because they was all staying overnight because we was all going down to the vet the next day to clean. I remember we was up all night. We ain't go down to the vet super early. We kind of slept in a little bit. Like, got up. We ain't had to get up super early, but we went down to the vet and cleaned, and that's what we met. These sisters from Virginia. But it was only 3 of them. So this was the first time where Nad and Lucius really started trying to compete. You know what I mean? Because of course, me and Cousin, we already had dibs on the ones we had wanted to have dibs on. So when I left the third girl, and it's crazy because the third girl was also feeling me. Meanwhile, she's feeling me, and Nat and Lucius the whole weekend are trying to compete with each other. And she was like, listen, you know what I mean? I could be friends with both of y'all. I'm not trying to date nobody, but we can all be friends. And they still had their little competition between them, but the girl was really like both of them just as friends. Like she wasn't really trying to get with none of them. So we met them that Thursday. They came in to do their to help clean or whatever, and they was staying over at the Marriott. Like now, my mom's husband, he worked over there. You know what I mean? He was already in debt to be my peeps. So whenever we needed something, he worked for the airlines and he worked at the hotel. So he would always hook us up with suites, buddy passes. That's why I used to be able to just jump on a plane and just go to an NBA city and hit up a game. I ain't never had to worry about airfare when dude was around. You know what I mean? And back then, you could go to a game in another city and for $50 you could cop a nice ticket. You know what I mean? In some arenas, when we used to go out to New Jersey, this was back when you could cop $10 tickets. You know what I mean? When the Nets played at Continental Airlines during the Jason Kidd era, we used to go out there. We would get the cheapest tickets, and we knew everybody that worked in the arena. You know what I mean? And we'd be sitting 5-6 rows from the court because even at the time when the Nets were good, they never really sold out games. Like until like the finals. Or like those deep playoff runs. But like even then you could always still cop a cheap ticket and move down. But anyway, my mom's husband, he got us a little suite. And I told the Jones, I'm like, yo, just come by, you know what I mean, that night. Because we only had the suite for one night. But we went to the Friday session from there. You know what I mean? The girls, they hung out kind of late, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? We you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Let's just say that these sisters were spiritual, but they didn't believe in all that, oh, God's watching our every move shit. My bad, y'all. But allergy season. But one of my XJ-Dub homies hit me up. It was like, hey, I be listening to your story, just like you had a knack for picking out what J-Dub sisters were about doing it, you know, and you knew which ones would get down and participate with certain shit. And to me, it was, I know this being around a lot of my J-Dub homies, you know what I mean, cats would talk about macking and what lines they would use on a chick. And my thing was just always being myself and seeing what shorty's interests are. You know what I mean? These sisters from VA that we met at the convention, they're from VA, so of course they're big AI fans. And remind you, the Sixers was going into the latter stretch of that series. You know what I mean? Game 6 was that following night. So we was all talking about, oh my bad, I meant to say we had the suite for the weekend. Yeah, because my mom's husband hooked that up. We had the suite for the weekend. When I found out they was from VA and they was talking about AI and how they wanted to get to the game, we'll get to that. So I'm like, all right, that's why I got the suite. That way we could all watch game 6. Because I really wanted to go out to Milwaukee for game 6. You know what I mean? But I'm like, it was a late game, and by the time the assembly was over and trying to change and get to the airport, I knew I would have had a buddy pass, but it all depends on what time that airline will be flying out to Milwaukee from Philly. So that's why we had just got the suite. And I'm like, that Friday we could just watch the game here, order some food, whatever. And I remember I invited a few more friends. This was the convention where I think I broke my OG Willie's record. Willie had supposedly had the West Park record for most phone numbers attained over a 3-day convention weekend. And I think this was the year where I broke his record because he was hating hard. He was like, yeah, but all the girls I bagged were dimes. You know what I mean? Every girl you bagged was a dime. And I'm like, it all depends on what your definition of a dime is. Like, my dime and your dime might not rhyme. You know what I mean? But, you know, like I said in the previous video, getting numbers was like a sport. Like, it was a way for you and your homies to compete. But, yeah, I think I set the West Park record that weekend. But really, that weekend, it's like it was the VA girls that was mad cool. Because that Friday, they came up to the suite. You know what I mean? We watched the game. This is the game we was getting blown out, and AI went on that run in the fourth quarter. And to me, it was that game right there that set the tempo for game 7 and that following game 1 of the finals against the Lakers. I always tell people that too. But yeah, I remember being real pumped at that game and telling everybody like we was winning game 7. Because there was a lot of cats hating. And I did a video on this a few months ago. Everybody was talking about the Bucks were robbed. And like, man, for real, we should have swept the Bucks. But we was hurt. Like, George Lynch was out that whole series. You know what I mean? AI was playing with the tailbone and all the other than that. Like, we weren't even healthy that series. I remember they had the whole damn Sixers team on the front page of the news all hobbled up. Like, and there's no excuses. All teams are battling ailments around that time. But like I said, we should have never went 7 with Toronto or Milwaukee. But going game 7, though, did prove prophetic in some way. Because I remember that Saturday at the convention, you know what I mean? The girls wanted to know about going to the game 7 the following day. And I'm like, you can always, because this was back when getting tickets from scalpers was the thing, because the box office was already sold out for game 7. You know what I mean? So I knew a couple of the scalper balls, and I'm like, I knew which ones to go to. I'm like, if y'all want to get in the building, it depends on where y'all want to sit. You know what I mean? For at that time, $50 could get you like a nice little seat. You could probably sit somewhere on the lower level. I remember they was all trying to go to the game. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be nice if we all go because we could just chill down here and then just go right across the street. Because remember, the game started at 9 and the convention was already over. It was over about 5 o'clock. So, after you to mingle afterwards or whatever, next thing you know, it's 6:30, 7 o'clock. At that point, you just change and head right across the street. And this is back when they used to have the block parties and shit before the games. So, everybody wanted to go to the game. I remember it was just something about the weather. I don't remember not one play, drama, not one public talk given throughout that whole weekend. I just remember it being nice weather and all the talk was about the Sixers getting to the NBA Finals. Because, like I said, it was those latter stretches of the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's like Game 7 was on the same day as that Sunday. And that Sunday is when I bagged these sisters from Southwest. They was actually cousins. It's funny, me and Naraj approached them, but the cousin was only really giving Naraj rhythm. So, you know what I mean, to kind of run interference. Because as me and her cousin was talking, the cousin kept trying to chime in and like, yeah, we can all like meet up and watch the Sixers when they get to the finals. Because remember, that's one thing about when a Philadelphia team does good. Even the people that aren't really into sports like that are talking about the team. It's like, it's that buzz going on throughout the city. And remember, at this time, it had been 18 years since the Sixers had last been to the championship. So, especially for us coming up that were either too young or not born when they last won, like, it was really something to be excited about. Especially since the team hadn't been that good in a long while. You know what I mean? You had the best play, the MVP. You know what I mean? The best team in the East. And even if you win, your chances of taking on the dynasty are slim to none. It's just the fact that it's exciting to even have that challenge. Because for real, going into the finals, nobody had us winning the chip. They was like, let's just win a couple games and it'll be something to talk about. You know what I mean? We only won that one game. But, at least it wasn't a sweep like people were predicting. But anyway, around this time, that was the talk. And that's how I was approaching a lot of sisters that whole weekend. I was like, so, you know what I mean? How about the Sixers? What do you think is going to happen? Like on Friday, I was talking about what you think is going to happen to tonight's Game 6. You know what I mean? Saturday and Sunday, it was like, it's a shame we didn't get it last night, but we're going to get it tomorrow night. And my thing would be, I'm going to be at the game. And she was like, oh, I wish I could go. And I'm like, I know, but I'll tell you this, you know what I mean? Give me a number, because when the team wins, I kind of want to have a little cookout or something out at the plant before I leave to go out to LA for the first couple games. They were like, oh, you going to be in LA too? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? But I want to have a little cookout out in the park, kind of celebrate the team and whatever. Since you like the team, come out and celebrate with some other fans. And we all J-Dub too. And that was a short, easy way to get his sister number. I remember the cousins that me and Dad Ross was talking to that Sunday. They was like, yeah, we want to go to a game when they come to Philly. And I was like, all right. You know what I mean? I made that happen. They went down there. Because remember, this was the days when ninjas would go to scalpers and get tickets. It ain't like now where you can just go on your phone and, I mean, the Sixers ain't been past the second round since then. So, of course, it ain't going to be hard to get tickets to a game. You know what I mean? When the last time the team been in this predicament where you win this game and you're in the finals? You know what I mean? But that was just the theme of the whole weekend. That's the one thing I do remember about one of the talks is when the guy was like, a lot of people right now are thinking about the 76ers game 7. That's the only part about the whole convention that I remember was where the brother, he was a brother from Philly, of course. He was like, everybody's thinking about the 76ers and what they're going to do tomorrow. You had a lot of chuckles throughout the vet. You know, cats didn't really want to start applauding because it wasn't about their Jehovah or whatever. But it was really an exciting time. And I remember that Sunday after the convention or whatever, we mangled around for a couple hours. I got a couple more numbers. And remember, my uncle and my old head Clayton and they was always one of the last group of people to leave the vet. Mind you, the convention's over by 5. They're probably leaving out around 7. Now, and I had my stuff in the car. You know what I mean? Everything I was wearing to the game. I remember that that day I had the red Doc throwback. You know what I mean? The red Sixer Mitchell that's fitted. You know what I mean? Had on some did I wear shorts? I don't even remember whether I wore shorts or not. I just remember having the throwback and the fitted. And I remember taking another shower down there like in the clubhouse, you know, where the Phillies and the Eagles and where the brothers doing their different parts throughout the program would change or whatever. And I remember getting in the car, going right across the street, parking, then mingling with the Sixer fans before the game. You know? And it's like you knew that night Sixers was going to win. Like it was no doubt in nobody's mind. You know what I mean? You had a few Bucks haters in the building that night. Like, y'all won just to get swept in the finals. But, yeah, if y'all won, y'all would have been cheering on, too. Knowing y'all fate wouldn't have been no different. I've actually seen Bucks fans talk about they would have gave that Lakers team a run. Because they were the better offensive team. You know what I mean? But back then, defense actually won games. And like I've said before, we win that series in no more than 5 games if we was healthy. You know what I mean? They lucky that 7-game series with Toronto had us all beat up going forward. You know what I mean? Otherwise, that we could have saved some energy against them and had more firepower against the Lakers and possibly get another win, maybe even 2 more wins and send the shit 7. people like, oh, you delusional. The Sixers weren't taking that Lakers team 7. You never know. You know what I mean? Anything. Nobody thought the 04 Pistons would beat them the way they did. You know what I mean? Yeah, two totally different teams. But even still. But anyway, this is just Hawks talking Squawk mixed with a little hoops and J-Dub throwback stories. You know what I mean? Those sisters from VA, we kind of kept in touch with them for a little bit. You know what I mean? Nan and Lucius, they eventually forgot about the one girl, but we would like invite them to stuff. They were at the convention too the following year. But remember after that, the dish was kind of switched up and got smaller, so we were seeing like different people. And really, after the vet, the district conventions were never the same. When you think of district convention, that's the ones I think of at those big stadiums where it's 30 to 40,000 people. But anyway, this is just some Hawks talking to Squawk. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more content. Hawk out.